So, today's topic is abortion. We are going to be, so for the PLS, we're going to be talking about how to be empathetic, there we go, that's the way to say that, empathetic towards others. First thing, put yourself in someone else's shoes. So often we sit down for a conversation with somebody and we're like, well, they're really snippy. And it's like, well, that person probably has had a really hard day. There was a person in the office where I had several people that called me, or like I'd be talking with people and they'd be like, I don't really want to call the front office because like I can get this one person and they're super snippy. And I'm like, okay, that one person literally has the worst job in the office. Like they get crap from everyone. Not just the people who show up, but people in the office as well. So it's important that we put ourselves in other people's shoes because we don't know what their day has been like. We don't know, heck, maybe they just lost someone close to them. And so often we sit there and we're like, well, that dude's been super rude. Or one thing that my mom always does is whenever you see that person who's just like kind of hauling butt on the freeway, and they're like cutting everybody off, my mom one time, she goes, their wife is probably pregnant. Like their wife's probably just about to give birth and they're like gunning it to the hospital. And I'm like, that is a great way to think of that. You know, it's probably not true, but it's a good way of looking at it because then you're not looking at that person as the jerk who just cut you off and is flying down the freeway, but you're looking at it as someone who has a reason to be doing what they're doing. Number 2, show care or concern whenever you're sitting down in a conversation, there's nothing that's going to close someone off more than whenever they give you a little tidbit of what's going on in their life, and you're like, oh, cool, whatever. You know, they open up that little, because a lot of times people will put out little feelers and be like, you know, I'm having a really hard time right now. And if you're like, oh, that's nice. That's they're not going to open up to you ever again. I can almost guarantee it, because you didn't show that you cared. You didn't show that you were concerned about what was going on in their life. Acknowledge the person's feelings. Let's use this in a form of abortion. If you were talking to someone who had had an abortion, you could probably say these exact words and it will hit home with them. You're probably really upset with the people who are against abortion because it's a decision that you made, which is probably true for the vast majority of them, because it was something that they felt was right, and they feel attacked by the people who don't support them. So they would feel upset, hurt by people who don't support that decision in their life. Ask questions. I know you guys have never heard me tell you guys to do this. I want to tell you guys to ask questions all the time. If you're sitting there and all you're saying is statements, you're not going to get anywhere with people. Questions are what bring people to their own realizations, but it also is what opens people up to ideas, to feelings, to being willing to trust you. Because let's go back to the person who's had a bad day. Literally, if you're just like, I'm sorry, that's where that conversation ends. If you're like, I'm sorry, what's going on? Like, is there anything that I can do to help? All of a sudden, you added a question on the end, and that conversation can go on for another 45 minutes. And a lot of you are going to try and get out of conversations as fast as possible. It is not a good practice when it comes to apologetics. I'm sorry. Vivian's over there like, no, what have I signed up for? Mirror was the key word for this one, but it's mirror emotions and input. Okay? So if someone is sitting there and they're like, you know, I just had a parent die. And all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I heard this great joke today. No. it's almost comical, the difference that I had there, but that's because part of this is logical. Like, you don't just laugh in those moments. You mirror people's emotions. Because if you're super happy when someone else is angry, if you're super happy when someone else is angry, a lot of times that's going to make them angrier. But if you do it when someone is sad, they're going to feel even more hurt than they are right now. If you're angry when somebody is sad, now all of a sudden the sad person wants to shy further away, and the angry person gets angrier because the sad person shied away, right? So you want to try and mirror people's emotions. Like if someone's giving you really bad news, yes, you can take it with a smile, but don't be like there's a difference between a, like a lighthearted smile and like a smile that is kind of sad and understanding. Yes, thank you. Don't run ahead of the conversation. Gentlemen, we are really bad at this. Because as men, we want to fix everything. It is part of who we are, that we want to fix everything. So when someone comes to us and is like, hey, literally this is conversations that me and my wife have had, okay? Hey, I just like really need someone to talk. She'll come to me like, David, I just really want to talk to you right now. Like, I got all this stuff going on. And she'll be sitting there talking to me, and in my mind, I'm going, what can I do to help? What can I say to fix this? Like, and at the end, I'll be like, so have you tried this? And she'll be like, David, I'm not looking for you to fix things right now. And women, this is important for you to know, that's how men's minds work. If you want to just sit there and rant to us, tell us that beforehand. Don't get me wrong, our brains are still going to be in fix mode, but we might try to do it a little bit more subtly. It's true, sorry. But what ends up happening is we can be sitting there talking with somebody, and we'll end up cutting them off before they get to the main thing. Okay? Someone may, if we're sitting there like waiting to be like, this is how this relates to my life and how I went through it and how I fixed it and all of this good stuff, that person's going to be sitting there going like, yeah, but that was like the build up to the real issue. And now I don't feel like I can talk to you about the real issue because, well, you just jumped down my throat with things that weren't pertinent. Next is one that Catholics, especially on topics like abortion, whether or not we're doing it, it's going to be said that we did it. Don't judge. Okay? Don't be a judging judgerton. So like, there's a difference between sitting down with someone and being like, hey, I don't think what you did is right. That's not judging, that's sharing your opinion. But when you sit down across from someone and being like, wow, you're a really awesome person for doing that, that's judging them. See the difference?
It's still your opinion, just a more elevated way of doing it.
Judging somebody is when you look at them and you demean them, or whatever it is.
The wrong way.
Yes.
You like judge them for who they are by what they did rather than just who they are.
Yes. Yeah. Finally, show emotional support. This means that for those of you who are introverted, yeah, again, Vivian's like, what did I sign up for? Yeah. So for those of you who are introverted, this means that you have to come out of your shell a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm actually pretty sure about 90% of the people in this room are introverted.
True.
Nope.
Yeah, I am.
Hey, we got an extrovert here.
So, because if all we do is we sit down and have a singular conversation with somebody who's going through a hard time, that's one thing. But when we show up the next day or the next time we see them and we're like, hey, how are things going? Like, are you doing any better? That's huge. That in and of itself is showing emotional support for somebody, because that's showing someone that you care and that you are taking the brain capacity to be thinking about them and remembering what's going on in their lives. Are there any questions about those 8 little tips and tricks for being empathetic towards people?